I think that where to start is more about a tradition, I guess, because I'm seeing this tradition unfold even in the next generation. Um, as I said, my name is Louis-Henri Mars, and the Mars family has been involved in the forefront of political and even back in the independence wars, even in the military side of things, for forever, basically, since the start. And and so it's not surprising that for me that today I am engaged in issues that have to do with contributing to reducing violence and building peace and seeking reconciliation in Haiti. Um, Originally, I'm a diplomatic kid. My father was an ambassador, a minister of foreign affairs, and so I traveled a lot when I was younger uh, throughout Europe and the United States. My father was ambassador in the United States under the Kennedy administration and ambassador to the Holy See under Paul VI and to the Court of St. James. Of course, Elizabeth II is still alive, and to Paris under de Gaulle, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I got to travel a lot with in my formative years. On one hand, it was not good for my education, for my classical education, because every 3 or 4 years, every 2 years, I would have to leave the school where I was and go to another school in another country, leave all my friends, and start back.
What?
So what? Yeah, and start back. But on the other hand, traveling from one society to another society gave me the ability to move between cultures and to have a sense of the value of every culture, you know, and be able also thanks to family traditions to move between different classes of society, and this has proven to be very I'm not even going to say very useful. I think this has been essential in the work that I'm doing now, and it's a key, I believe, in the Haitian equation that Haitians learn to move and adapt in every level of society. And I've transmitted that to my children already, who can sleep in a shanty town, a ghetto, Cité Soleil, or wherever one night, and then the next afternoon be at one of the most richest nightclubs or hotels in Port-au-Prince and meet people there and be just as comfortable in that environment. Be at the embassy reception one night, and the next night be in a disco in a ghetto, you know, and just be able to say hello and give five and salute wherever they are. And I think that it's something that is very necessary in our society. There's people here that live their lives without ever meeting anybody from another social class. You know, I mean, in a horizontal way, they may have had a commercial relationship, you know, but it's a different situation where you're actually discussing things with somebody from a different social class, but on a horizontal plane. And as I see things develop in this country in terms of the conflicts and tension and rock throwing and tire burning, I think that this is an essential issue that, in my experience, that we have the capacity to overcome. Unfortunately, over the last years, there has been encounters of that sort, but through negative situations like kidnappings. I have friends who back in the 2004, 2007 kidnapping spree actually were taken from their homes in the nice neighborhoods of Pétionville and brought down to Cité Soleil. And it's the first time that they ever had been to Cité Soleil. And in Cité Soleil, there's people who had, for the first time ever in their lives, ever met a green-eyed, light-skinned person, from, the upper crust of society. A few months ago, I brought a young man from one of the neighborhoods, the downtown neighborhoods, to my house because he was threatening to kill somebody. And I had spent a bunch of time talking to him and realized that he wasn't listening. And so I had the idea of, bringing him over to my house, and he readily accepted. And as we went up to Pétionville, I live in Pétionville in the mountains, right? And when we were going up to Pétionville, I realized that he had never been to Pétionville in the whole of his life, And so we visited Pétionville. He was 25 years old. He had lived all of his life in the ghetto. And he had never been to Pétionville in 25 years. So we visited Pétionville, and I took him over to the house, and he bathed, he ate, he played Nintendo with my son, he slept, we had breakfast the next morning, and we talked some more, and the idea of killing the other person was gone. So we need to have those exchanges, at some very deep levels. I see that Dave and Judy's picture is no longer there. Are they still with us? Dave? Are they out? Are you guys there?
Louis-Henri, on Zoom,
yes.
On Zoom, sometimes when you look across the top right, some of the images are off there. People are on the call, but the images are off what you see depending on the size of the Zoom box that you're looking at.
So they're still
so
with
I should not be worried. Okay. All right, here they are. They're back.
Yeah, Dave and Judy are here.
Yeah, they're back. Okay, and Jaloki, he's Jaloki. Okay, no problem. So I came to this work, very, how do you say that? Difficult to say. I know, I'm not saying that I stumbled into it. I think it has always been a fixture in my family to look for and work on bringing different classes of society together. My grandfather wrote a book back in 1928 called So Spoke the Uncle that actually made people discover the origins of the majority of Haitians. They didn't think that we, came from Africa in those days. And he also wrote another book that's called The Vocation of the Elite that is going to be celebrating its 100th year this year, and where he talks about the need for the elite of this country, not just the color elite, but all the elites of this country, to pay attention and engage with the poor. So it's something that I guess is in my blood. And this morning, I participated in a walking tour of my daughter's exposition of her paintings downtown. She has a showing that's been going on for about a month. And as she explained why she painted all of those paintings, all of this came out again, so it goes from generation to generation. But there's also spiritual choices that, I think that this work, the Lord led me to it as I discovered, the question of peace and reconciliation with God through the cross, through Jesus, the vertical reconciliation with God, and the horizontal reconciliation that the Lord calls us to have with others. And so it's something that, again, I'm kind of like letting myself be led. And, it takes you into very different situations, because when we're challenged to do that, it takes us into walking into places where there's a lot of violence, and walking into places where, in the middle of a gang full of guns and stuff. And, if you don't have the Spirit of the Lord on you as you're walking into those places, you might not come out, because everything you say and everything you are and everything you transmit, those guys, they sense it, they feel it, they know if you really love them or if you're putting on a show. It's also, it challenges you too, because you start building these relationships with quote unquote bad guys that sometimes, a lot of times, kill people. And then you start asking yourself, why am I loving this guy? This guy is not a quote unquote good person, but you have this connection that you establish with them. And when they themselves die because they've been shot, because they were involved in a gang war and somebody killed them, you have this sense of loss, for somebody who was going around killing people, So it's, I've often wondered about that. I still have on my telephone the picture of a gang lord who got killed a few months back. And he was a pretty bad guy, but we had been discussing some things, and I had gone to see him in jail, and I had brought my Bible with me, and I had told him that, while he was in jail, he should, start reading and praying. He cut me off really quickly. I'm not necessarily maybe the best jail minister, Maybe I went a little too fast with him. But afterwards, he actually was gonna come out of that jail and asked me for some advice on how to come out of the jail without getting killed. And I don't know, I got some inspiration on explaining to him how to come out, because he was afraid that as soon as he would step out of the jail doors, somebody would shoot him, And so I gave him some advice on how to do that. I don't know where that came from, because I've never been in jail, and I've never been in a situation where I might have to choose between staying inside and coming out, But he followed my advice, and he actually went home. He called me while he was going home, said it worked. It actually worked. And then I told him not to get back into the violence, but unfortunately he did, and he was killed. So I'm carrying around his picture. And I'm sometimes asking myself, yeah, why don't I delete his picture from my phone? You know, the guy is dead. The guy was a bad guy. You know, why am I still attached to the guy? You know, I don't know. You know, maybe the Lord would say to me one day, delete, delete. So we'll see what happens. So maybe I'm rambling about a little bit, but I came back to Haiti when I was around 25, and it was it was not something that I had really thought through completely, because actually I learned to speak Creole in New York. In my family, it was a diplomatic family. They spoke French quite a bit, and I hadn't, not lived in Haiti since I was 7. So by the time I was 24, 25, I really didn't know how to speak Creole. And so I didn't know very much about Haiti. And I think that probably if I had known in those days what I know now, the decision would probably have been more difficult. But I also had made a conscious decision not to get a green card or not to become a US citizen while I was in the States, because I knew that when things got difficult in Haiti, it would have been very easy for me to just quit, And so I consciously decided not to get a green card or a US citizenship. And I cannot say that I don't regret it sometimes. When things get tough around here, you kind of start scratching your head, you start looking and say, Lord, I know that you want me here, but maybe it could have been a little easier, but anyways, choices are made, right? So fundamentally, I think that the very essence of the conflicts that are happening here are from the original conflict and the original sin of slavery. And it's not development work. I mean, building roads, putting electricity, bringing up water dams and so on and so on. That's going to change that. And so those are good things, but the fundamental relationship building between people is the essence, the big knot in the problem here in Haiti. And I think that that's what we have to focus on. Unfortunately, over the past years, I've had to actually build an organization to get funding, and that is, for me, an impediment to the work. The work is not about the survival of the organization, which I'm focusing on a lot, and that's not where my best qualities are. That's not where my gift is, and I've not been able so far to find a way to focus on that human relationship, spiritual relationship, and reconciliation between human beings aspect, which is the real work. The real work is really building intimacy with the Lord and building intimacy with others, whoever whether it's the president of the country or is the one living in the worst canal downtown under the bridge, and I found myself over the past few years working on projects and spreadsheets and submissions to get funding. And that's one thing that I'm praying about that the Lord will change in my life right now, because I think it's taking me away from just loving people. So Lakou Lape, which is the community that a group of friends and I founded back in 2012, is the idea of bringing together people from different sectors of society to build peace in Haiti. Lakou Lape has people from the business community, a former gang leader who moved from violence to peace back in 2009, and then has been promoting peace with us since 2011, 2012, and people from the artistic community. And the original idea was to build a community before building an organization. And again, when you build an organization, the need to have, because this organization is having an impact, is doing work, you need it to receive funding and stuff like that. But it also takes over a lot of the spirit of what you were trying to do. And so we're growing, maybe not fast enough, but again, we have to be conscious that what has been happening in Haiti has been happening over 500 and something years. So it's not a 7-year effort, and it's not a single effort either from just us and our organization and our community that's going to change things here. There's a lot of work to be done at the leadership level, spiritually and relationally, and on the emotions of leaders here. All kinds of leaders, real leaders and false leaders. I'm very conscious that the fact that we have a president does not mean that the president is a leader, you know. And there's people who do not have any titles that have people following them, you know. So the reason why we exist is this separation between people, and the motto of the Haitian the motto of Haiti is union makes strength. But the reality of Haiti is that this union makes Haiti, you know. And the reason why our forefathers had chosen union makes strength as the motto of the country is because they knew of the problems that they had, you know, in getting together. And so they wanted to warn and reinforce the idea that we had to be united, but we're not. We're totally disunited, you know. And I always say that as I go through activities and getting Haitians to work together, is that the first thing you do with a group of Haitians that you want to be working together is not to go into the work. It's to rebuild relationships among the group first, so that they become a community before you go and start, you know, whatever you want to do in terms of practical work, whether it's getting a road done or cleaning a canal or, you know, development work or whatever it is. You know, you have to build a sense of a team